All right, so you're welcome to episode 11 of Surviving COVID-19. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, so today, let me do my intro for you and then I'll introduce you in a bit. So today I decided that let's have a conversation about the millions of children who happen to be at home and who have been home for several months, but don't have the benefit of any virtual or online learning. So we have the private school, private students, or the students or pupils in private schools getting the benefit or having the benefit of private school learning. They have their computers and their gadgets and they can take part in classes organized by their schools. But we had a show about that, and I realized the practical challenges that people who are not that well-to-do, or in fact, you don't have to be well-to-do to own a phone, but there are people who clearly can't have access to a phone, and they can't have access to a computer. They don't have internet in their home, especially in the public schools. Even where they have those things, they can't participate because their school is not organizing anything. And we're told that these children will have to be at home for a few more months until January, when if the situation improves, they may be going back to school. And I felt, why do we have to wait until then? What can we do while we wait for the children who don't have the benefit of virtual learning? And so I decided to host this show. This show, as you'd realize, I haven't advertised any experts, but I have a few people who will be joining who will know a thing or two about education and have been in the field for a while. Now, I also opened up the invitation to anybody else who would want to join. So if you're watching right now and you think that you have some expertise that you can bring to bear, practical things that we can do for these children. And we're going to suggest, we propose, and the whole idea is people can decide to implement them. The reason why I say that they should be practical is because I want people to take these things and try and do something about it themselves. There have been people who say they should take part in classes that are being organized on TV, and there's some being organized on radio. Yes, that is also workable. There are others too who are saying that the teachers who are home, who are not teaching anybody, but they are being paid. And so let's get these people to organize their children in their communities and get to teach them. That's also another way. I posted this a couple of days ago, and I've had people come to comment. They've left comments, which I'm going to be sharing with you. But for them, they feel that that's the way, or that's their thinking, how we're going to get this done. Now, I have one person who is online right now, and that's Ruth Oforiwa Asante. Ruth Oforiwa Asante, she attended Ola College of Education, and she had a diploma there. And then she also went to UCC for basic education, English language. She's a teacher at Ebura, Amedia Basic School in Cape Coast. And she tells me she's been on the field for, what, 13 years. So, Oforiwa, I'm going to be starting with you. So you can now unmute, and I can bring you into the conversation. So you're welcome to the conversation this morning, Oforiwa.
Thank you very much, Israel. I really appreciate the opportunity you have given me. COVID-19 has really done a lot. As in, it has stopped so many programs, especially with our education. And we all know that we came to stay at home since March. And private schools decided to go online for their pupils. And now the question lies with, what is the public schools also doing since we have teachers at home? Initially, I thought of going to do a free class for them, but I had some of the people declining. And I really don't blame them, because a lot of them, the majority of them, help their parents.
When you say declining, or first of all, explain to us how you intended to have these free classes and why they're declining.
Okay. My daughter is in class 1 and her school goes virtual. So I decided that the days that she has classes, I'll leave her with my sister. And then those days I go to school so that I would also have time for my pupils. So I went for a meeting there and I saw one or two of them and I told them that this is what I intend doing. So they should tell their other colleagues. And then I left my number that they call me. Actually, they didn't. And so when I went around again, I saw them and then I asked them and he said that they gave excuses. My mom says I should help her. My dad says this and that, and a whole lot of stories. So I just decided to hold on for a while and then see what we can do to help them.
So where were you going to hold the classes? Is it in a classroom or you're going to use your home?
I was going to use the classroom. I was going to plead with the headmaster since the JSSC students were there and the other classes were empty. And we were going to do it we were going to do it according to the COVID-19 protocol rules. So it wasn't going to be a full class because I handle a class of 58 and we can't practice social distancing with that. So I decided that at least 30 would do because we have an ICT lab which can accommodate 30 pupils at a time. So one period that is 30 minutes for this part and then another 30 minutes for this part. We give exercises and then we go back home. But since they didn't buy the idea, although I suggested to the head and he agreed that at least it will help them, the pupils themselves, they didn't buy the idea. And I don't blame them, as I said earlier on, because a lot of them help their parents at home, especially with selling food items. So it's been a burden. We've been thinking about how best we can help them. And thank God that the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with Ghana Education Service, brought this radio learning and the TV learning. And you may ask, how many of them even have the time to participate? We were given a couple of books for basic 1 to 3 that parents should come and take them so that they at least engage their little ones with 2-letter words, reading and all those things. But some have come, others too haven't had time to come. And so it's been a challenge, but I think that there are 1 or 2 things we can do. We can propose and suggest that we do.
Sure.
And see the way forward as to helping them too.
All right. So we'll come to the suggestions that you have, and I would want to believe that you've put together some brilliant ideas that you're going to be sharing with us on how we're going to make this possible. But while at it, or before we get to that, I have a couple of my mates from Green Hill College who have joined the Zoom session. I brought them in. Yesterday we met at an event. We inaugurated the premier class, or the inaugural class of Green Hill College. And so at that event, I told them about the fact that I was doing this and I would want them to all come on board with their ideas. I have a couple of them online and pretty shortly I'm going to be hearing from them. But let's go, I'd want to go back to the post I put up on Facebook telling people about what options are available, and we'll get to see some of the suggestions that came up. So I have Honey Morris. Honey Morris says, let's do a virtual CDs and let's do virtual CDs and distribute to them through the MMDAs. Let them do homework by watching the CD for their questions and wait for answers to the homework on all channels after evening news on TV and radio, just like our fathers used to wait for winning lotto numbers in the past. Now, it's one of the solutions, or it's a suggestion, and we can't discard anything at all, but you would also appreciate that indeed not everybody will have a TV in their home and not everybody will have a radio set in their home. And if they have CDs, I don't know the virtual CDs you're talking about, but if they have CDs and if you're talking about compact discs, I don't know how many people can actually play those compact discs or have the opportunity or devices to play that. Now, there's also Mamiya Asante. She replies to Honey Morris and says, we have been giving reading materials for that. Mamiya, that's you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Mamiya says, we have been giving reading materials for basic 1 to 3 for radio learning and GL learning on TV. Parents should come and take them keke has become a problem. They are helping them sell. Okay, so that's the challenge that you were talking about. And Hanny Morris comes in and says, there would have been a mad rush for them if it was political party t-shirts. Our beloved country is sick. So we have Melissa also says, you can employ a private tutor for your child if you can, or for the teachers who are also at home, can have a talk with the wards, parents, and a talking each day in small groups. That's also another brilliant suggestion. But like you have said, you organized something that was actually for free, Mamiya, and it turned out that people decided they were not going to be a part of that. And then we have Dudu says, I think the government decision to close down schools amidst the coronavirus is imperative because we are not dying like Europeans and the Americans. So some can't feel its impact, but parents can employ teachers to engage their children in smaller groups with regard to the COVID-19 protocols in their communities. And Mamiya, you came in with your interest in suggesting and your experience. Emmanuel says, don't limit the discussion to public school. Don't limit the discussion to public school. Why? Only a few elite schools are effectively doing virtual learning. That's understandable. But yes, the people who are suffering the most, or the people who are paying the most, are the people who don't have access to internet, they don't have access to gadgets, they don't have anything at all. So these are the practical solutions that I want us to suggest. We have Rennie says, get a teacher who isn't working to help at least a few hours a day. That's what my family has been doing. And Jamesi Raphael says, private schools have a better way of preventing this virus. So this government should just allow the private schools to open their schools, Biko. And Grace says, till now, I've been thinking about why they're asking JHS 2 pupils to go back to school without JHS 1 pupils. My question is, are the pupils running a different curriculum? This decision must be reconsidered. And Rosemary comes in and says, I think for social distancing, the public schools have huge numbers in one class. They are as much as 70 in a class. Grace Brenda Amma says, do these politicians observe the safety protocols again? If not, for Israel, I would not know we still have COVID-19 in Ghana. May God have mercy on us. All right. So these are some of the suggestions that were put up when I put the post. I put up the post. I'll go back and get to read a few more of them. And there are some others that came on the post that I put up this morning. So let me come back to you, Oforiwa. You seem to have some ideas which you're going to be sharing with us. But before then, I'd want to find out what has actually been put in place for the public schools. You indicated that they're supposed to be taking part in some learning that's been done, or teaching that's been done on TV and on radio. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, it wasn't designed solely for the public schools. It's every child, because since every child is at home. But right. They took it as every home should at least own a television or a radio. So since people are at home, with a little supervision from parents or elder siblings, they can also partake and then listen. And I've sat down to watch a couple of them on TV. The lady, she teaches class 2, comprehension passages and grammar and all those. I've studied it and I've realized that it is really good. So me, like these days, my daughter doesn't have Zoom class. That is what she listens to. So right. It will keep her occupied.
That's on TV. Which channel is this?
Those on Go TV is GL 20. The channel is 20, channel 20. Yes, so right. They run in batches, yeah.
All right. So there's GL TV, like you're saying, but there's also the Joy Learning channel. The Joy Learning channel is available on multi-TV. So the people who, for those who have multi-TV digibox, you can get that. So there's Joy Learning channel and there's GL TV. Is there radio as well?
Yes, radio. Yes, I learned Radio Central in Cape Coast. They host the program. I am yet to listen to that one on the radio, but for the TV, I can confirm. But the radio, I am yet to listen to it.
All right. So now let's look at, yes, there's some people who can get to watch TV or get to monitor radio and have some lessons. And you're saying that for the TV, the lessons are not bad. You're talking about lessons for class 2, which is brilliant. If we could have everybody or as many children as possible take part in that, that would be great. But not everybody else would have a TV. But even before we actually go into the other options, I would want to think that if not everybody can get access to a TV, but the communities can organize and put one TV in a community center, or maybe they could have a TV, make their TV available instead of watching all those telenovelas during the day. They could make the TVs available to the kids, organize maybe 4, 5, or even 10 kids within a certain household. And usually we're very accustomed to compound houses here in Ghana. So if you could have one compound house, decide that they're going to put the TV up and let the children come and watch and learn something from it, that would be great. So that's one way I think we can go about the TV bit. But for you, let me hear from you now.
Well, for starters, I would look at community home cells like we do for prayer meetings. So you look, regardless of the school, whether public or private, whether the teacher is with the public school or the private school, you look at the community, you gather about 10 children. If you can host them at home, you look at the average. Right now with the new curriculum, you realize that there are some subjects, the topics cut across, right from basic 1 to basic 6. The only difference is that the only difference is the time allocation and how deep we go into those treating those topics. So you take a subject like English language. I'll be a little English biased because when you take English language, let's come to grammar. There are some topics in grammar that cuts across, even to the university level. Nouns, pronouns, conjunctions, prepositions, they all cut across. So you take them, 10 pupils. Today, you teach them nouns. You go a little bit into the nouns, you teach them the count nouns and countable nouns. For 30 minutes, you give them exercises. There and there, you make sure you supervise, they work on it, and then they solve it. You therefore have to make a timetable that today when you study English, in the next 13, today's English and science, maybe it's English and mathematics. Then the next day or two, we have ICT and how do you call it, creative arts. The ICT, someone would ask, do you have a computer to be teaching all those things? We don't have computers, but where there is a will, there's a way. We always find a way to get them, at least even if it's one desktop, you can put it down and then teach them 1 or 2 things they need to know about computer. So the home cells would take like 10 pupils in a home. So the teacher would either host them at home or find someone in the community who can do that for us. You go to the place, you teach them, they all go home. The next day you come. So at least you engage them one-on-one. And then also I looked at community subject clubs. We can form clubs in the community. This time around, we are not going to limit it only to 10 pupils per time. Maybe we'll open it up to 30. So we have the English club, we have the science club, we have the mathematics club, we have the ICT club, we have the creative arts club. We will be learning, all right, but it will be through games so that it will make it more fun and more interesting. Let's take English language again. There are so many games that we can use, especially when we are learning how to spell and how to form the present continuous forms of verbs. So we employ those things. We give them, we find simple storybooks for them to be reading, a chapter a day. So when you do that, when they come the next day, we try to discuss the story, what we read. Maybe you put them into groups, 4 groups of 4 or 5 groups of 4. So this group has the storybook with this title. They read a chapter. When they come, we all discuss it like how we used to do Anansi story. We sit round table form, and then we all talk about it. And then we can also do spelling bees. You put them in groups. You give them about 20 words or 25 words a day. They should go home. We learn how to pronounce it. We teach them the phonics. We learn how to pronounce them. We learn how to spell them. The next day when we come, it's a spelling bee competition. We all sit down. We do the spelling bee. The winners are rewarded with what? Biscuits and then toffees and all those things that children would like. So it will encourage them to learn more. And then also I looked at the pupils who can't make it to the community club, those who can't make it for the home cell because of one or two reasons. What can we do as teachers? We can do post exercises. How do we do it? Let's say we take a subject under math or science. We write a little note, summary of the topic, a little, and then we give exercises. The note should be such that if the child picks it with a little supervision from a parent or an elder sibling, they should be able to explain it to the child, for the child to understand it, and then should be able to also answer the questions. And now when they are done answering the questions, they submit it to the school, or we look for a particular place in the community to do that, maybe a church in the community. They all submit it. The teacher picks it up, marks it. Where there are mistakes, you write the correct answers, and then you put it in the books for them, so that when they go home, they can go through it and then make the necessary corrections and all those things. And then when you were talking earlier, you said that we have used the compound house system. Someone can release their televisions for them to partake in this GL learning. There are so many CDs and programs, software programs that we can use our flash drives to get them. So we can get decks that can take the pen drive. And then also these programs, especially with children from KG nursery 2 to KG2, they are attracted by colors and the things they see. They learn through songs and gaming and rhyming and poems. So we get these software, we put them on pen drive. We can get a TV at a particular place. We put them together 30 minutes or 25 minutes for them. Let them watch and learn colors through singing and dancing. So when you finish, there are so many games that we can employ, even from the special education side, because the way we teach them how to recognize colors and numbers and all those things. We can use that as a game. What colors have we studied today? We put these group of pupils into, this one will form red, this green, this blue, and this yellow. And then we play a game by spelling all the pupils in there whose name starts with the letter R. Red is a color that starts with the letter R. So if you find, you can identify someone amongst the group whose name starts with an R, say Ruth. So when you mention Ruth, then Ruth represents the color red. So okay. Yakubu represents the color yellow, and so on.
Okay, so I mean, you have some pretty practical ideas, but you're actually going in there and getting us to know how exactly we should be doing them. One of the things I want you to think through, I'll be coming back to you, and if you could put I know you have a tripod around, if you could put your phone on a tripod so that it can be a lot more stable. But one of the things I'd want you to think through is how we can bring on board the siblings. So we're in a home where we have some kids who are much older, maybe JHS 2, 3, and those who have actually just finished their BECE. How we can incorporate them, or how we can get them also involved, because yes, they may not be teachers, but if we're avoiding a situation where people are going into crowds or joining other people and want to keep this thing confined to the home, I believe we can use these kids, those who finished BECE, they can be a lot more involved. In fact, those who also finished SHS and finished writing their WASI. But I'll go onto Facebook again and take some more of the comments that people posted. Michael says, this challenge confronts the world, cannot be solved overnight. Ghana is doing the best. You are there, so you don't see much. In UK, COVID-19 is going up again, possible second lockdown, schools opening, parents have to drop their word and pick them. Human movement is increasing every day. Yes, I am aware that there are challenges that people have to deal with. But yes, that's why I'm saying that let's find practical ways of addressing these challenges. And that's what we're seeking to do. We're not saying that we're defying government or we should get the kids back to school. That's not what we're saying. I have Gerard Osebwa, who's the president of the Green Hill Pioneer Association, Pioneer Group Association, and he has his hand up. Gerard, you would also have to show us, show up on, turn on your video. And yes, you can come in, Gerard. Hello, Gerard. You'll have to unmute, and then we can hear you. If you don't want to show your, okay.
Hi.
Can you turn on your video so we can see you? Yeah. So go ahead.
Hi. Yes, so good for those who have joined on Zoom. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. But I just wanted to pick up on Madam's last few comments where in terms of, in terms of softwares and programs, and I'm thinking that is a way that we can also help some of our less privileged or others that don't get the opportunity, because there's this particular program.
Gerard, your internet, your connection is not really, your connection is not the best. I don't know if you can do anything about your internet connection. Probably reposition yourself somewhere in the house and then get some light on your face. Then we can come to you because we love to hear what you're saying. I also have...
Okay, sure, I'll try and reposition.
Yeah, so you can reposition yourself. I also have, while you do that, let me go back to reading the few comments that I had. So we have Emma Byrne says, we should also try and understand the government a little. These are all good measures for your own ward safety. The school is like a small community where everyone is everyone's friend. The JHS2 are being used as piloting to see what happens. Just as the JHS3 had passed through, they want to evolve the rest of the class by little so that nobody will be in trouble. Look back at some of the behaviors of parents from the second cycle when they heard their wards were infected with the virus. It's just the grace of God that the virus is not killing us like how it was in the outside world. Let's just continue to pray for the better so that we can go back to the classroom. Thank you. Please, this is my opinion. No one should come and attack me under my comment. If you have any other opinion, place it under the main post. Thanks. So yes, you have a point, but what we're trying to do is, what can we do? Let's suggest what could be done. Practical solutions that would not probably require us meeting in a classroom. That could be at home. That could be watching TV. These are the suggestions that we're asking you to bring on board. And Makado says, only God understands politicians. Okay, let's skip that. Kuje says, politics is what is destroying this beautiful country, where some people can demonstrate. All right, I'll skip this one too. And Bright Christiama says, they should make internet data affordable. Says is the easier solution to the situation. Well, until they make it affordable. Then Morte Emmanuel says they should put safety measures in place and open all schools. Campaign is going on in every part of the country without the safety measures, but schools are still closed because of COVID. And Valentina says every community has a teacher who can help organize some of the children with the permission of their parents for them to be helped with reading lessons. All right, so those are some of the comments that you've shared. Gerard, if your internet is a lot better now, I would love to hear you. Hello, Gerard. You'd have to unmute. While at it, I know that I have Gifty, who is also one of my mates from Green Hill College. She has joined us. Gifty, I'd love to hear from your perspective as a mother, because one of the things a lot of people probably are not considering or are not bearing in mind is that we're having the kids staying at home for quite a while. And I'm thinking that by the time they get back to school, they probably will be so rusty. They would have forgotten a lot of the things that they have learned. And then we would have to start virtually all over again. Oforiwa, is that something that you see as a challenge?
Yes, I see this as a challenge because they've been home this long, from March, and going back in January, we would honestly have to start everything all over. If not everything, at least more needs to be done. We have to go back to revise. We have to go back to revise a whole lot before we can catch up and then start the new one. You know, we left off at second term. So let's say third term is gone. We didn't do anything in third term, and we can't go to the next one without doing the other one. So we would have to revise, treat a little bit of the third term's own before we can start the new one.
Right. We haven't had this kind of experience before where kids have had to be home for several months. Well, not in our lifetime, but this is happening right now, and this is new to us. But do you have any benefit of history that tells us, or the challenges that are likely to come up if this thing happens?
Israel, please, can you come again? My network, so I could hardly
All right,
hear you.
so I'm saying we haven't experienced this situation where we're having kids staying at home for several months and then having to resume after many months. But you being a teacher and with the training that you've had, is there any time in history that you think that a thing like this happened, and what are the consequences?
To the best of my knowledge, none that I can tell. I haven't heard or seen anything like this. This is my first time experiencing this, although I've been in the system for quite a period of time. As for the challenge, it is there. Now, there's nothing we can do about it. We have missed a whole lot of period of engagement with them. We have to find time and make up for it. How are we going to do that? Are we still going to wait? When we resume, we can't just say that we have resumed, we have started a new academic year. So we are just going straight to the point. We are just going like that. We have to take time because we are putting so many things into consideration. We are putting kids who are smart, the average ones, the below average ones. We find all of them in the class. We can't say because one or two pupils are very good that they'll grasp a concept within 10, 15 minutes. It means the rest should also do same. We have to treat them all as equal. All of them don't know anything. So we are starting all over again. And then we started from there gradually, and then we move. I think we shouldn't say that because we want to work with time and complete the syllabus and give a number of exercises because officers will come around for them to come and check on all those things. We will neglect all those things. No. We are doing what is right, yes, but we need to put the kids first. Treat each step with a little patience so that at least they would come back from the stay home fever and they know that now we are back in school. They psych and tune their minds to studies all over again. Because honestly speaking, especially when you take the little ones, some of them have even forgotten there's something called school. So they are now coming to start it all over again because some just came and then this COVID came, so they had to go back home. So now that we are back, we need to take it one step at a time. Treat the subject more patiently and then try to work within time too as well.
All right. So I've just had Gerard join now. Hello, Gerard.
Hi, Israel.
All right, so we can hear you. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I was just trying to try and emphasize on one of the points that Oforiwa mentioned about softwares and programs that the kids could use. And I'm saying if we want to bring a less privileged or less opportune children along, then that's an area that some of us or some people could sort of get them to register online, particularly my maths, and to be honest, again on what Oforiwa just ended with, it's even the virtual, it's not the same as the physical,
True.
like you were saying. So for some schools, they can't even do more than maths, English, and science because there are others that you would have to use your hands, trying, and then all the motive skills that other kids, less sharp kids, learn from other kids as a team in the classroom. So sorry, I've just mixed up three things, but basically what I'm trying to say is we could support with some of the softwares and then register some online. It might not be directly, it's online, but not virtual or like real time, where the kids could and they can get reports and they can practice their math skills. That's one. Having the virtual cannot cover everything, so obviously kids can't wait to get back in January or whenever government allows them to go back. But even then, things are going to change for them because they probably may not be able to do things like PE. They might have to break in slowly. Class sizes are going to reduce. Things that would require body sports may not happen for a long time. So, I mean, given the situation, there are new ways that we have to learn and get together in terms of even whilst they're home. You know, even those that are on virtual, those that are virtual. And by the way, I think that generally virtual is non-scoring. So the point I want to make here is that it's as important as going back to school because it helps in some areas. It helps with a continuous assessment. For example, when COVID happened, right? Much as it's not the same as being physically in classroom, there are some national and international exams which could not be taken, but for the purposes of continuous assessment, awards were given. So much as the virtual will not be the same, it will support the school or the assessors in terms of continuous assessment and occupy a void in terms of being at home and not doing anything. So, I mean, these are 3 or 4 points that I would just want to bring to the top of mind of all of us in discussing this virtual and helping others to get on virtual, filling the void.
All right, thank you very much, Gerard. But so the other thing that came up, and I'd want to run that by you, have we thought through how we could use the children who are already home? They're in school, but they're a lot older or a bit older, and they being able to teach the much younger ones. So that's another option, as in SHS 3 and the senior classes, those who just finished BEC who are home and probably maybe running around or going about their own devices. But if we could have them, incorporate them into the system.
Brilliant. I mean, I heard it when you brought it up, and I think it's a brilliant idea. It actually can be an enterprise that they themselves can get involved in. Because long time ago, I used to have this thought of reading guidance, where people, young students, pre-national service, post-SS, could go support, fill the void of parents that are going out. So although then it was just to support parents in getting children to read or minding children, now the benefit is that whilst they are minding the children, they are helping them to read. So in this case, like you brought up, it will be minding the virtual, the processes for younger kids. Because rightly, as you said, I think before you also said it, with kindergarten and reception and class 1, 2 children, they haven't got too much control over the mouse. So definitely there would be that support where SS kids or JSS kids could support the younger kids to do it. It's a brilliant idea. If it's done properly, like I said, it can be a big enterprise that young kids can get involved in for a few pennies, for just because not everybody has a big sister, not everybody has a big brother. So you may have to get people to observe protocols and enter friends or cousins' homes or uncles' homes to help, move or stay with someone, because it's real. This morning, my wife was discussing another friend who's about to go back to work, and it's a nightmare for her. She took 2 weeks off just to be able to try and set up the kids, but 2 weeks the kids haven't got a hang over the whole virtual thing, and it's a nightmare. So assuming she had some nieces who have finished JSS or SS, they could come in and support, and so it's a brilliant idea, which I think that we need to table it and promote it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Gerard. I'll take a few more comments on Facebook. Waja George says, my take is that the government should reopen schools fully. Secondly, the government, together with GES, should collaborate with the private radio stations in the various districts to deliver some form of lessons to students with a special attention on numeracy, literacy, and science. So yes, a bit of that is already happening. And just to add to it, there's some Ghana Learning, GL Learning ongoing, and there's also on TV and on radio. And I've already indicated that at Multimedia, there's also Joy Learning. There's a Joy Learning channel. The whole channel is dedicated to teaching the kids. There's some very, very, very useful lessons, and they're using the syllabus of the Ghana Education Service. So we could have those TVs, so people could decide that in their communities, opinion leaders or people could just decide that I'm going to take out the TV, put it in the center of the house where we have you have common the compound houses. Put the TVs there and let the kids watch and learn something from that. So that will be very useful. We have Lawsing saying, should reconsider opening schools, but most importantly, ensure or train persons to be COVID ambassadors for each school so pupils comply effectively with the protocols. Times and days for schools should be reduced, maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 8 to 2 p.m. That will be a massive step to start with. And Stevens says, you don't know how difficult it is to control these small children. I've been in the classroom for 31 years. Please let the government take decisions that will benefit us all. We're not stopping the government from taking, or I don't intend to stop the government from taking decisions that will benefit us all. I'm saying that what could we do in the meantime? Because if I had a child who couldn't benefit from any learning for several months, it would be a big problem for me. And I feel that there are many parents who find themselves in that same situation. So I'm saying, what can we do practically without having to go to the classroom? We could, if it means you're staying in your home and watching TV and watching some school that's taking place on TV. For those who don't have access to the TVs, how do we get the TVs to them? Or how do we get them being part of the conversation? And we have Yaira, who's also my mate, was my mate at Green Hill College. She says, we have to accept the times that we're in. I would love all parents in wards to be invited into this program. The attention needed is very great. Out of boredom, I can see kids doing all sorts of things like joining bad company, which, yeah, is real. And it's something that that's why we're having this conversation. That's why I'm saying that let's open it up. Let's have people bring in ideas. I indicated earlier that Michael Mariwadie, who is the second vice chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, he has joined us. And Mr. Wadie, I would wish that you would unmute and you can join the conversation. And he's joining us not because he's coming, he's a vice chairperson of the NPP. He's joining because he was my mate at Green Hill College, and he has some pretty interesting ideas, which I'd love for him to share with us. So, Mr. Wadie, you may want to join by unmuting. And then Gifty as well. Gifty, who is a parent, also my mate, former mate at, we're in school together at Green Hill College. And then I also have Togbe Winnie. You're all, this conversation is about everybody else. We don't have any experts here. We're just brainstorming to see what practical solutions we have available. So whilst we wait for you guys to come on board, for you, what do you make of the conversations so far and some of the ideas and suggestions that people have come up with on Facebook?
They are all brilliant ideas, especially in relation to the siblings who have completed JSS and then SHS. They will be at home. We also need to engage those ones because to avoid bad company and other influences, we need to find ways of engaging them. And this is one of the ways we can engage them. What do? We can employ about one or two of them in the area to go and then teach these little ones at home. The compound house, you take them, at least you get one or two people who have completed secondary school or JHS there. At least they are far ahead of those little ones. So the house can contribute, get us board, and then maybe decide that in the mornings from 9 to 10, we are going to have this lesson. So instead of the teacher moving from his or her destination, now the teacher is the JSS people who have just completed or the secondary school who has just completed. So they will be doing the teaching in the home for them. So the parents can come together and get a board for them and then exercise to do that. And then also, let's look at those who don't stay in compound houses. Where can we meet? We can talk with maybe a church in a community, not necessarily giving us the church or the main building, but at least the auditorium big enough outside the car park. Find a shade there, get a board for them. We engage these people to also teach these young ones who can find the time to come and do it. And then those who are still would want to stay home because of COVID-19, I think the parents should encourage the older ones that spending too much time on their phone, they can at least spare 15 or 20 minutes of their time each day to engage their little brothers and sisters who are at home.
All right. For you, let me go to Facebook now. I have some people who are watching the stream who have also posted some comments. Take those comments. I have Owusu Enes saying, watching you live from Italy, keep up, bro. You have done a lot for Mother Ghana. We love you. Well, I love you too. Then we have Yayura coming and saying, well done, Israel. Thank you. I have Kegu saying the man of the moment. And then Mustafa says, such great works by Israel, tackling social issues. And then I have Abdul Hakim. He has a pretty, long post. Well, not so long. He says, hello, for my team and I, we organize a home literacy for children living in poverty and vulnerable conditions. We have as many volunteers who are sent to targeted houses to assess the children and then provide them with grade appropriate learning materials and then help them to improve their reading and writing skills. We provide hand washing stations in these houses and we try to ensure physical distancing. That's from Abdul Hakim. Thank you very much, Abdul Hakim, because this is a practical way of trying to solve this problem. Then Rajwa says, good job, guys. Andrew Tamate says, so Andrew decides to do some, advertise stuff that he's doing, but it's all good because it's all for the national interest. Andrew says, you can contact us on 024-362-7831, 024-362-7831 to purchase mathematics workbooks for your ward. Title, I can count and write. Mathematics workbooks for primary school 1 to 6. Okay, that's your idea. Sarah Osieva says, good job, easy, thank you. Kenneth Berima says, some of Ufuruwa's suggestions appear to be based on the assumption that every community has access to electricity and all parents have some form of formal education. Nice ideas though, and it's great to begin a discussion like that. Okay, so Ufuruwa, that's your compliment. And Ibrahim says, how do I join the live video, Israel? Well, okay, I'll send you an invite so you can join. And Oheneba Yuri says, okay, they're watching. The rest of them are watching. Okay, so let's come back to who else is available. All right, Oforiwa, I'm coming back to you since the rest of. All right, Gerard, are you on? Hello, Gerard. Okay, so Oforiwa, we've talked about some of the practical solutions, and yes, but there's still quite a bit more to do. There's quite a bit more that we would have to do to get there. But whatever has been suggested, we probably would want to just run. I want you to, Oforiwa, just quickly run through the things you have suggested so far. And as we have some others joining. So for a while, let's hear.
Okay, well, I suggested that we have community home cells. And then also community subject clubs. And then to get program software on pen drive that will be distributed in the community so that the people can gather and then watch them.
Okay.
Yes, and then also I suggested post workout, that is teachers giving assignments and leaving them at a particular place for the people to pick up and then go solve them and then present them after every 2 weeks or a week. Yeah, those are the things I put across.
Okay, so I have my sister who's also a teacher, Phoebe Gagbo. She's also been teaching for a while. She's joined the conversation now. Hello, Phoebe. You'd have to unmute and let's see your video and let's have your suggestions as well.
Okay. So, where's my video? Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
So for me, I have some apps that I use online. So this is not from the government. So as a parent, I have an app called there's this Khan Academy, where they have various subjects. So for the Khan Academy, it's more international. And there's another one called Andex Learning System. This is more fine-tuned to suit the Ghana Education Service syllabus. So they have maths and integrated science. They've made animated videos. So for all the lessons, they play videos of the various subjects, just the two, sorry. And the other subjects for the BEC is like past questions. So you solve the BEC past questions and then it gives you your answers right after you are done. So that's another way. And for my kids, their school, it's not a public, it's not a private, it's like public-private. So for them, what they tried to do was they engage their children via WhatsApp, and then they give them assignments. So we as parents go to the school, pick the assignments, bring it to them for them to do at home. Then they set a date, they give us a date where we have to submit it. It's not, you know, when you give children assignments, sometimes when you are not there to supervise them, to guide them, they do what they want to do and then they give you the work. So when they said that they were doing the exam, it was an exam, and they gave them the test. they ask us to start at a particular time and end. With me, I was very strict about them doing the work by themselves. But I don't know about other parents, how to make sure that they don't just do an open book, what's the name, exam, just look into their books and give back the work. So that is what the school for my where my kids attend, that's what they did during the COVID.
All right, so Phoebe, you're talking about the school where your kids attend, but I'm also interested in what is happening in the school where you teach. What has been happening?
Nothing has been happening. So I suggested, we met the parents for the Form 3s, and I suggested this Andex learning systems for them. All they had to do was pay 10 cedis. I met with them, I showed them a video of how this is done. But when I called the people, they said nobody signed up. So nothing is happening with them because you can't really force them.
Yeah. So the thing is, from what you're telling me, the kids are not so, the parents themselves are not so eager to be part of this conversation, or they're not as bothered as some of us are. Is that what you're saying?
It's okay. In my area where I'm at Matayeko, the children from that side, most or some of them are living in Russia, Abosokai, and some parts of Matayeko. And should I say that they are not living with their parents, and those who are living with their parents have to, let's say, wake up early, go to the market, go and sell. They don't really have time for their kids. Most of the kids there have to fend for themselves. The few parents who have to take care of their children, or the responsible ones, think that they can't afford to give their wards a gadget. Or when they give them the gadgets, they will have to buy
internet,
the data, yes, and all that. And they're afraid that when they give them access to their phones, they might not be doing the studies anyway. So they would rather not venture to that area.
All right, you said some things about WhatsApp and the fact that you can send the questions or whatever exercises to the parents via WhatsApp so that they can help the children or they can take the children through it. I would want Oforiwa to also touch on that, because I feel that that's another way of we bringing, or another route to use to get more people involved. Now, a short while ago, I saw Michael Omari Wadie. He showed up on screen. Now, Mr. Wadie, I want you to come in at this point on mute. Let's see your face and then share with us some ideas that you do have. And as I indicated earlier, Michael Omari Wadie is the second vice chairperson of the New Patriotic Party, the ruling party. But he's joining us, or he's joining this conversation not as the MPP chairman or MPP vice chairperson, but he's joining us because he has some ideas that he thinks that he can suggest, aside from what government is doing. So, Mr. Wadie, let's hear you.
Very well. Good morning to, we are already in the afternoon. Good afternoon to viewers and listeners.
Let's see your video, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Was that okay?
Yes, we can see you.
Yes, thank you. Like you said, I'm talking here as a parent and as a Ghanaian, not as a politician, please. I have kids too myself, and I've tried most of the things that have been spoken about this morning. I remember when the thing started, it was dangerous to get even a private teacher
So what we were doing was forcing them as kids to read on their own. But you've realized that you wake up early morning, you leave, you go and come back late. Some of us are very busy people. And the assignment you give them, they've not attended to. The books you ask them to read, they've not read. Well, they forced me to buy, what do you call it? I have parts. And that one too, they said they can do research. I heard that there are certain sites that they can access and learn. Later, I realized they play game with it on it. Not only that, I bought, we had a TV. So I repositioned the TV so they can have access to it because I heard about this Joy Learning and GBC also doing one. And got them that multi-choice decoder.
Multi-TV.
Multi-TV. And that one too, anytime you come home, they are watching cartoon. And you wonder what to do. Now, well, I was thinking of getting them a teacher, but they're in various classes. And well, somebody suggested radio. I was also thinking at one point that at least there should be some kind of cooperation between government and the TV and radio station owners. That was assign specific time, maybe 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. or at least that all radio stations should be airing or educative programs for kids because they are all home. Whether you are owner of a radio or TV station or you are a journalist or whatever, your kids are also home. But thinking through what I have gone through, I think that may also not work without supervision. I travel around the nation, and yes, here in Accra you have data. You have reception, radio, TV. There are certain corners in our country that they can't even access a radio station, let alone a mobile phone. And I've been thinking, and I wonder, you see, a smart child is always a smart child, will always be smart, whether they learn or not. That is one thing I also know. Should we wait for government to lift before we get our kids involved in learning? I think we as parents individually must take certain, based on, like I have done, you try, at least you succeed one day. Now what I do is I buy books for them, and knowing that I give them, I said, read this book. Within 1 week, I want you to come and tell me what you've learned. And I insist. And that, I think, is working now.
Okay.
You buy the books and get them to read. At least just let them read. If not math or technical things, just let them read. That is also building, at least if the child can read, he can write. I am of the view that each parent is responsible for his or her child. I have done mine, and I'm just giving you what I have gone through.
Okay.
Your kids may be different. Certain things may work for my kids that may not work for you. Some parents are very strict. Some parents are, some kids do listen to their parents a lot and obey all commands. Some kids do always try to outsmart or outdo their parents. So it is based on you, the parent, what you want. But unfortunately, like I said, traveling around, some parents even don't care about their children's education. They don't care about their children's education at all. Sometimes they feel the government is even punishing them by forcing them to take their kids to school. In such situations, there's nothing much that, but if the child, like I said, is smart, if the child is intelligent, no matter how long he stays at home, when he gets back, he can pick up. they can pick up. But it is all about what you, the parents, will do. Government even opens today, I tell you, some parents will fight it. At least you were all here when we saw what happened at Accra Girls, and when one, I hear, was it 7 or 8 of the kids got the COVID? Parents rushed there. Yes, I understand. Parents will rush there. But like I've been saying, it's all about you. Not what government will say.
Yeah.
Or not how long the kids will stay at home.
Yeah. So Wadia, you were talking about how you travel across the country and see all these places where they don't have mobile phones, they don't have TV, radio, and they probably may not even have an internet signal. But that's it's some of these places that we're talking about, that what are some of the ways we can go about it. So some of the suggestions that have been made, that if we could have some teachers who are in those communities, organize these children and get to give them some teaching, because these teachers are being paid, whether the school is in session or not. And I'm talking about the public schools. So they could use their time, more profitably by supporting the kids. And this is a suggestion I'd like. Well, you're part of this conversation, and because you're influential, you can take all these ideas back to the people.
That one has been suggested long ago, but you are a Ghanaian, I am a Ghanaian. You know how Ghana things work. As long as it's holiday, it's holiday. If you want them to go to work on holiday, they have to be paid. I talking from where I sit. If I'm not careful and I make any pronouncement, maybe it must misconstrue that this is the position. But it is all about the teacher's concern for the kids. If you are a teacher and you know the situation we are in, and truly you believe in the work that you are doing, you are being paid for to do, this one should not come from government. You should show concern and take some actions. Like the other lady was saying, in certain schools, they are teaching people virtually. Well, this has been dictated by the school authorities, and I wonder why people in the rural communities where there are even no COVID cannot, and I say cannot, by themselves help these kids. If government tell them to go, it is another thing, But the community, the chiefs, the leaders, community leaders, the assembly members can put things, because in certain remote areas, people don't travel. And they can be supportive to these kids by way of assisting them, giving them some assignment, teaching them privately, and helping them at least not to get that rusty. Because I have been very, how can you stay at home for 1 year and not learn and you go back? And it's something that we all need to take. But it's all about the teachers. If you're a teacher and truly you care about you love your work and you believe in helping the children, you should be able to organize and teach them at least. I remember my father once used to tell me how he got to school. Those days, he said those days teachers were more caring. When I told him teachers are more caring today, just that survival now, they care. But at least let's put the survival aspect aside. At least you'll be paid every month, work or no work. But the little time you have, at least bring the kids together. In these communities, they all stay in one community. They stay together. Bring them together, teach them, give them some assignment, encourage them to read on their own as a teacher. And I believe if we go that way, we can, but I cannot tell teachers themselves, I cannot order. And I can tell you, government will not give those orders that rural community where they are not read electricity and data, telephone systems should go and teach then what about those in Accra? And which exams are they going to write? So I cannot force the teacher or no, but at least be show concern to the kids that you teach. You are home, you are doing almost nothing, even though you are being paid. Why don't you take that move, just take that step and take it upon yourself? Bring at least you know your class, you know the children you teach. Bring them together at least. If you can't do it daily, at least 2-3 times a week will even help the kids.
Yeah.
And by the time we resume fully, they'll be ahead of others.
Okay. So yes, thank you for the wonderful ideas you're sharing with us, Mr. Wadia. And I would hope that as you go across the country, you can run this by your MMDAs that you come across, the district assemblies and all those people. The whole idea is to share these things, get these messages to go out as far as possible, so that people will take it upon themselves to do stuff. I'm also hoping that NAT, for instance, the teacher associations will decide that it could be an appeal. They could reach out to their members across the country and tell them that whilst you're home, whilst you're being paid, and yet you're not teaching or not working, why don't you get to organize some of these children and impart something to them? We're not expecting.
Israel, if you champion that cause, we'll be most grateful. But if I attempt,
no.
It will be suicidal. That's why I'm saying that if yes, you take it up and call on them it will be at least a call in the right direction. You are also a citizen, you are also a Ghanaian. You are concerned, and we shouldn't always wait for politicians to come and be bashed. Because if I go and say this, they will oblige. It can be a discussion, it can be a debate, but in the long run, a lot it comes with it. You know where you sit, and you know where I sit. It can be.
Okay, Mr. Wadia, I gave you some task, which for you, I was like, or the suggestion I made to you was that as you go across the country, you can engage the MMDAs. That you can do, so that they can come up with their own ways. They should sit back and say, okay, what can we do? Some of these things don't always have to be handed down to people. The MMDAs are supposed to be quite autonomous, and they should be able to take some of these decisions to benefit the people within their community. So that's what I propose to you. But I'm saying that beyond you, NAT and the other teacher organizations, associations should also implore their members to want to do something themselves practically to help some of these children. And we're not looking at, I don't think that we can expect to have the children follow the syllabus, a particular curriculum. We just want them to be engaged so that they don't get so rusty that when eventually in January, when they are asked to come back to school, then everybody, it turns out that they really, really are so rusty that we have to go back and start all over again. What can they do? Even if it means, going over whatever they have been taught before the schools were asked to go home. I'll bring in Oforiwa here. Oforiwa is a teacher. She's been teaching for 13 years. She's in Cape Coast. So Oforiwa, this is something that I believe that if your NAT, for instance, if you're a member of NAT or NAGRAT, and NAGRAT asked you that you should do this, or ask your colleagues that they should do this, I'm sure there'll be a way out.
Oh, yes, definitely, there'll be a way out for that. If really we want to help, we don't need excuses. We have to do it, because the children is what we are looking at. We are not looking at ourselves as individuals. We are looking at the children. Because if you don't start it now, in January when we go back, it will be a whole lot of work for us. So I think we shouldn't even wait for them. We should come together as individual teachers, put the kids first, and then do something. At least engage them, if not for the whole week, at least once, twice a week, it would do. That is why my earlier suggestions, I made mention of this post exercises where we give the exercises, we leave them at a point, they take it home, they do it, and then they submit it 2 weeks, and then we pick up. At least it is better than staying home doing nothing and playing football from morning till evening.
All right, thank you. Let me go to Phoebe. Right, so Phoebe. Okay, so Phoebe has brought together some other teachers. So I'd like to hear from you. What ideas do you have to share with us?
As a matter of fact, it's a good idea that teachers find something to do to engage the children. But I have a problem here. The problem with the COVID-19 is coming together and trying to control them so that there is any spread of the disease. Now, if you leave this in the hand of the individual teachers, you should go and organize them themselves. What will happen is that sometimes we are going to have a problem. Okay, they may have their own way of doing it. I quite remember within the COVID time, when the lockdown time, there were some teachers who organized some students, and at the end of the day, it became a problem. So to me, these arrangements should be done through the head teachers, so that they call the teachers and find a way so that the head teachers will control the teachers who are bringing the children together to engage them at least twice a week or 3 times a week, so that they don't get rusted. They have been in the house for too long a time. This is my suggestion.
All right. And this suggestion, you brought up the issue of if the teachers are supposed to organize the children, if we don't take care, they may not be able to observe the protocols, and the kids, we could end up passing on infections. But I'm reliably informed that there are actually vacation classes going on right now, being organized by some people. I don't know if any of you are aware, Oforiwa, are you aware that there are some classes that are being organized right now that is actually happening, even though it's not being sanctioned? So yes, we have that. But we have suggested a number of things. And I like the idea that, yes, you could go through the headmasters. So yes, that's also workable, because with the headmasters, you can get a bit more control. But I'm saying that there have been other suggestions that have come up. For instance, in a home, if you happen to be a teacher in a compound house and you're being paid, but you're not working, why don't you organize the children in that compound house and teach them? So these are some of the suggestions that have come up. Can we hear from you as well?
Yeah, I think it's a laudable suggestion people are raising. Teachers leave the children in the community. So as you were saying, a teacher can organize children in a particular compound or community and then share ideas with them regarding what they're supposed to know. It's not necessarily bringing a large number. Teachers are teachers, and they are people who are innovative. They can find a way of how to do it without necessarily putting them in a large number. If there's a need in a day, a teacher can divide people children within the community into 2. One coming in the morning, the other in the afternoon or evening, and then he teaches or shares ideas with them. I think that will keep the mind refreshed until such a time that they'll be coming to school.
Okay, so certainly, I mean, that's one of the ways out. But are you aware of the classes that are taking place on TV and on radio put together by governments? There's something happening on GTV. And
yes.
Okay, what do you make of those?
I am aware, but to be frank with you, it is not all homes that have access to television. Even radio, some don't have. So they are in the dark as what is happening. And such children should be helped. They need help. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What kind of help?
Especially when you go to the villages. Some homes don't have television. They don't even have what? Radios. But we have teachers in such communities. So in their own way, what help can they give to these children? Because if you leave them like that, they'll be coming back to you in the long run. And what will be their state before they come to you? So there is a need for us to get that awakening that no, let us rise up and then find a way of helping these children before we come in January.
Okay, so great ideas, and we're still exploring whatever ideas you have to share with us. I have some comments on Facebook I'd like to bring up now. So I have, well, my own cousin who is watching. She's Koklu Lai. She says, we need to use radio more. Radio gets results. GBC announced there would be programs, but GBC has disappeared on the multi-TV digibox. Radio is very pervasive on your phones too. Okay, so that's another thing. So radio being available on your phone, because you may not have a radio, but virtually everybody has a mobile phone. And even a YAM, you can get radio on the YAM. So that's something people should look at. And the bit about multi-TV or GBC going off the multi-TV digibox, I'll take that up and find out what is happening. And she adds again, our community public libraries are close to non-existent. Well, that's something, if was resolved, it could help. And she says, my lamentation, private tuition is very expensive. A young man was going to charge 600 cedis a month for teaching math. How many parents can afford it? Well, not many parents can afford that, but there'll be some who charge 600 cedis, but there will be some who may charge 100 cedis. There'll be some who may charge 20 cedis. And there's Oforiwa who's with us here, and Oforiwa decided to do her lessons for free. And yet we had people who were not willing to take part in that. And Koklu comes again, libraries should be equipped and operate with acceptable protocols. The librarians should adopt modern methods of reaching its clients while government ensures that the internet is broad enough to support both teaching and learning practice. And then she comes, do they even have textbooks? Well, that's a very, very valid question. So you have been, I'm learning that you've been headmasters before, maybe one of you. If you could just tell us a bit about your background.
All right, I was a headmaster, but now with the office. Yeah, with the education office. I just want to say something about the radio programs.
All right.
Yeah, the publicity is one thing that is not key. In some areas, children don't even know that there is programs like that. And there is a need for us to play with teachers in communities to actually draw this to the attention of parents. Now, if in a community, teachers know that particular children don't have phones, do not have radios, and so on in their homes, they can bring them together around a radio somewhere. It could also be a phone so that they can listen and then discuss whatever goes on the radio. I think that is what another suggestion I want us to have a look at. All must have the hands on deck to ensure that students remain what they're supposed to be before we resume in January. Our assembly members, teachers, all opinion leaders in the community will have to put their heads together to help in this so that we'll help our children.
Okay, great. And Oforiwa has rejoined us. So Oforiwa, I had my cousin who sent in a message and it was saying that posted a comment and it was saying that there's someone a teacher who is going to take 600 cedis a month for teaching math. And I was saying, well, some will take 600 cedis a month, others are willing to do it for free, like yourself. And yet you did it for free, or you offered it to them for free and they still wouldn't take it up. So this is a real problem, actually. Whilst some things can work in some situations, in other situations is not going to work. And these are the practicalities we have to deal with before you work.
Yes. Israel, for working, as you said, some will work, others will not work. Let's take my case, for example. I'm offering free and they are telling me they won't come. When you find out from them, when you take 10 people and you find out from them, why are you not interested in the class? I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to take anything. And the only thing they will tell you is, my mother says this and this and that. My father says this and this and that. And in one way or the other, since I have been with them for a very long time, whatever they are saying is true, because sometimes what you eat is a problem. And so if they don't engage in these things with their parents, eating will be a problem. So they would rather want to have food to eat by helping their parents engage in their trade than to come and listen to you or you engage them in learning. And well, when it comes to employing or engaging these SHS and GSS pupils, for them, we can say that they would have a discussion with the parents that if every child can pay something small for them, but before we do that, we have to make them understand that we are just volunteering. You are just being a volunteer. And surprisingly, you have some who would want to do it freely and willingly, but others who would want to get something out of what they are doing, and it's acceptable. So the parents can come together and say that, okay, do this for us, and then we are going to pay this amount to you or something.
Okay. All right. So I try to do with this show is to try and draw lessons from all over the world. And one of the places that I tend to refer to quite often is Rwanda. So I got in touch with a friend of mine in Rwanda. He's quite highly placed in government. And I asked him how they're managing these children who are having to be at home. So I'm going to read what he sent to me. He says, the government has recently taken, and this is Rwanda, the government has recently taken a flexible policy approach. While schools are all closed physically, government has allowed those with online platforms to continue the academic schedule, which was planned to start in September. This has meant that mainly private schools have been able to do this, and children enrolled in these schools have resumed online. Because this is not regulated, however, it is not clear how good each of these platforms are in delivery, equal access to all enrolled students, etc. It's assumed parents and school admin will follow it up. A ministry, as in the education ministry, may later check, perhaps. As for the majority of schools, which are predominantly government schools, they remain closed until COVID situation changes, with hope they may resume physically in January. To keep children busy and not forget their content, video programs are used on TV and education radio stations sponsored by government and alternating for children different class levels. But these are not to be graded or used for exams. It's only to keep kids busy and learning generally. There are many lessons, especially social ones, some positive and others negative, as one would expect. And he's asking about the situation for Ghana. So I'll reply him later and tell him that we're practically having a similar situation. So yes, COVID-19, the pandemic has impacted everybody else, and it has changed the way we do things. It has disrupted our lives severely. But what I try to do with this show is to find ways of going about the situation. We've been told that we have to live with the virus. So if we're having to live with the virus and we're having to contend with some of these challenges, how do we go about it practically so that, as most people agree, we can have the children learn something, not follow the curriculum, but learn something so that they won't be so rusty. I am going to come to you to have you share with me your final take before we wrap up the show. So I'll start with, I'll come to you, Oforewa, and I would want Phoebe to also join the conversation. Phoebe has been away from her phone for a while and left it to the two gentlemen. So Phoebe, you'll have to come back, and I'd want you to tilt your camera so it is going to be in landscape mode. That way we can see you guys better. So Oforewa, let's have your take.
My final take is that if we exhaust all these things because of COVID, we can't come together as a community, in the community cell, form the subject clubs in the communities, have people sit and watch software programs. We can also go by taking what their parents' contact. Well, some parents don't have access to internet and then use these smartphones, but they have siblings who do that. So we can get their contact and then form a WhatsApp group. And so I'll do my short notes and then exercises and then send it via WhatsApp to them. When you finish, just the exercises you have done, take a picture of it and then send it to me. Don't put it on the platform. Send it to me privately so that I'll go through, mark it for you, and then I'll send it back to you. I think that would also do. That is when we have exhausted everything. Or we can just even start with that one before we look at the other ones and then see the way forward. And I think that it will help engage these little ones.
All right, thank you very much, Oforewa. So let me go to the Mamprobi gang, where I have Phoebe and two other educators. All right, so let's start with you, Phoebe.
Okay, so I agree with Oforewa, and I would also encourage parents to let their children do a lot more reading. So reading just to keep their minds occupied and then not let them get rusty. Just reading for fun, not necessarily so that they would follow the syllabus. You see, now everything is exams based. Anything we are doing, we sort of think that, okay, we are going to take an exam on it. So we focus more on learning for exams. So if we take this opportunity to let children just read for fun, read and just know what is going on around them, it will also help at this time.
All right, great. And just to add to what you said about reading, in which case, if it's just reading that is being done, you can have some of the senior ones, JHS and above, and even class 6 pupils read to the younger ones, which also works, or take them through some reading. Thank you very much. You didn't introduce the two gentlemen who are with you. So you have
Sorry. So they are going to introduce themselves.
Okay, I'm David Sala, a GHS teacher. I teach English language in one of the public schools.
All right. So you give us your final thoughts before we move on to.
Okay. Just as I said earlier, what I want to say is that I think the stakeholders, if I'm talking about the government, they can do something better. It's like when you read from the Rwanda's way of going around this problem is similar to Ghana, just as you said it. But it's like maybe Ghana also look at other countries, or they look at one another and then pick whatever they are doing. But I think we can do something better than that. Just as I said earlier, that the head teachers can be called, and then directed to organize these classes for the children, so that those who are in the house, they will be called at least once a week. They are guarded, and the teachers do something with them, then they are allowed to go home. My problem is that they are in the houses. What are they doing in the houses? Most of the time, if you go to the communities, you see them running all around. Nothing, they are doing nothing to show that they are protecting themselves. They are more vulnerable in the houses than even in the school. So I think government, just as the sisters started with them, they refuse to come because there's no order there. But if we do it through the head teachers, as I said earlier, they are called at least once a week. I think that one can be better. It can help. And I think let's use that one, because they know that this one is guided by the head teachers. They are ordered and formally to come. I think it will help.
Okay, so let's go to your other colleague. Please introduce yourself, and then we'll
I'm Mr. Bonnie Apeti, formerly headmaster of Mamprobe 1 Basic.
All right.
Now FNA for IOASO Central Municipal Education Office. Oforiwa's suggestion is very good, and I would like to go for that. But to add to that, I feel parents, the awareness in parents for their children to rather be more interested in learning rather than taking them to the market and then helping them in their economic activities will be better. Because it's like most parents don't know that there is a need for their children to get engaged with the book or with learning. So you see, most of them, you see learners moving with them to the market. That is where their interest is. And then those around to, they only play. They don't engage with the book. But there's currently a program going on. That is a reading program. Children, they have siblings who are seniors and can read and understand. The siblings can gather them together to solicit from them what they have read from those books. Because the primary schools have been asked to come for books to read. So siblings can discuss these things with them and then know how they are going on with the reading. Not just leaving them to do whatever they like, running about, playing around. That will not help us. So in addition to Auntie Uforiwa's suggestions, there will be the need for parents to be sensitized. Without the parents getting sensitized, it will be very difficult to keep children's interest in these things, because it is the parents they listen to more than an outsider coming to tell them do this or do that. So parents will also show interest in whatever teachers will be doing in the community to help the children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll come to you, Gifty. Gifty, you have been silent and your video has been off all this while, but let's hear from you now, Gifty. Gifty is also a mate of mine.
Israel,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not Gifty, this is the husband.
Oh, okay. Togbe.
Yes.
Okay. Let's hear from you.
Wonderful program and great contributions.
Let's see your video.
My face doesn't look that presentable, so let me still go on.
All right, so let's hear
you. Okay. Cool. So
this face of yours is what you're saying doesn't look presentable.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's hear you. Please introduce yourself. You're a chief, I know. You're a traditional ruler. So let's hear you.
Okay. My name is Togbe Kojogan V, project manager by profession, a chief of Pando Gaja in the Volta region. The issue of the COVID-19 and the new normal that has come, it's something that we all grapple with to get a hang over on it. On the educational front, two things for me are clear. The private schools, which are following international curriculum programs, and the Ministry of Education GES program, which it's covering the larger part of the school population in the country. Now, with the issues at hand from March till now, which government says schools will reopen in January, which means most kids would have gone 10 months close without anything academic being done at their schools. The private schools have been smart. Most of them, my kids are at East Airport International. And what they are doing now, it's classes being conducted via electronic platforms. So they're doing the Zoom and then Google Classroom platforms where the assignments are put, and then they go to answer. Now, what happens here is in that category, all you need is the time with the kids for them to pay attention, go through the lessons full day, and then get the assignments done. So something has been done there. The challenge that brings is parents who are working would leave the kids. So getting the kids to pay attention and not be using the gadgets to do other things like Chairman Omaniwa, what they were saying becomes a challenge. Now, with what you're trying to do, a certain database of volunteers can be created. And then because you want to be sure that any person that you're introducing to your home is somebody you trust and you can screen so that nothing untoward happens at home. For those people now to be sent to homes to support those kids in order for them to pay attention and then get their assignments done before the parents come home. So that over the weekends, parents can go over what the kids have learned. When you go to the government schools, that is where we have larger chunk of the schooling population, and that is where nothing is being done at all. My issue is over there, the e-learning cannot be a solution, but each constituency in the country has an educational directorate. Each educational directorate has the list of all teachers. Government through the GES can mandate those directors of education at the constituency level to get in touch with all teachers, unleash those teachers within the locality that they find themselves. They can make use of the classroom blocks, limited hours, go through key subjects like the English, the math, and the science. So if the kids go to school 8 hours a day, and we say, look, let them do just 2 or 3 hours a day. Proper protocol for COVID-19 is established in those schools. We can have NCCE do public education through the communities for parents to know that government is asking them to release their children to go to school. Because the fact is that most of the kids who don't go to school play within the communities anyway, very actively. Yeah. They touch all manner of things. They actively engage. So we shouldn't be pretenders here, more or less, to say that the kids are not interacting already. They are interacting. They are playing the footballs. Funerals are being done. Church is being handled. A lot of these things are going on without even proper protocols being enforced when COVID is mentioned. So GES can be made to get these teachers to go and interact with these kids at least few hours in a day, revise the curriculum for the year 2019-2020 academic year, and get these kids to stimulate their minds before we get into January. Other than that, there'll be a whole revision that has to be done the 2020-2021 academic year. And then we'd have lost the whole academic year already, with the kids being more slow and not agile to whatever they are supposed to be picking up. So I wouldn't say government should be allowed to wait till January. I would say we should be pragmatic with the issue. GES should be brought on board. They should invoke the right that, yes, we are still paying teachers whether we like it or not. They are sitting home doing nothing. If it's about class sizes that we don't have the facility for, there are church buildings. There are other big halls within certain localities. Those can be used as well. So if we really want to be fair to ourselves, the solutions are there. We just don't want to activate them.
Yeah.
If GES is mandated to call teachers, they shouldn't travel to the original schools, no. But they can be made to teach within certain locality. That will also cut down their cost of traveling and the time of traveling to those schools. Let's not do all the syllabus. Let's do just a few, not all the subjects, just a few subjects. English, science, and maths for me is important. And get these kids to do something. Because the social vices that have been bred in certain environment within this 9 months is unimaginable. And some habits that the kids are picking up, it's something that the country within 2-3 years from now would see certain results that we weren't expecting, because certain kids have gone doing all manner of things that they were originally not introduced to. And they have become habits that they would have to be trained to let go of in the near future.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Togbe. You've made some fantastic points. I like the bit about the use of the church halls, because there are lots of churches that are empty now that are not being used. And so we could put that to some good use. So thank you very much for your contribution. And I'm going to come to you, Mr. Chairman Wadie, for you to sum it all up for us. But we've had some fantastic contributions from all the people who have spoken on this show. So Chairman Wadie, you have the final take.
Yes. Okay. I think I've enjoyed the discussions, and we thank all the people who have made contributions both on the platform and then on Facebook. I can see it running on Facebook. We owe it as a duty as elders or parents to take care of our children. Yes, government can support. Government has its role to play, but we cannot give or leave everything out entirely to government. Yes, government will come out with the policies, but individually, like we were saying, I've told you earlier on, I said earlier on, there are certain communities that don't have access at all to radio, TV, or even mobile phone. So those are the areas I'm looking at. Yes, the urban children can, if they really are supervised by their parents, or if they are interested, access radio and TV and even mobile phones. But my worry is the rural communities, the very remote areas. What happens to them? What should we do for them? What can be done for them? And I keep saying, yes, even if you are an urban person, it is what you do that matters. The kids are yours. If they do well, they are for you. If they don't do well, they are for you. So why can't you find a way to engage them, get them to go back to their books? Like I said, reading, just even storybooks, is a kind of learning. By the time, and the problem, like I said, myself, a single parent, supervision. I leave home very early and come very late. And I realized trying several things were not working. And now I buy the book, read 1 week. I want to see results. Come and tell me what. So that is working. And I believe we cannot have a one way. Somebody was talking about the Rwanda thing. I think you mentioned it. Most countries are finding innovative ways of getting the children to learn. But that government policy or decision doesn't work for everybody. I say, like, if you go to the rural communities, they are even happy their kids are not going to school, but because they are helping them in their farms. The parents are happy the kids are not going to school because the kids are helping them in their farms. Like somebody suggested here too, that even in the urban communities, parents carry their kids to go and sell for them. I don't know whether we should force parents to force their kids to learn, but it should be it should come from you. It's all about you. It is not what government or a teacher does. And then also the teachers' appeal that we made. I think we should find a way. Yes, I'll play my part. DCs, I know if they go and say it will have come with certain implications, but if media people can also take it up and encourage the teachers, headmasters, like the former headmaster was saying, to sit together and plan how to get their students to learn so they don't get rusty by the time schools are reopened. It will help. Let's all help each other. Help ourselves, help each other, help our community. And I believe there will be a way. There should be a way. There is always a way. We need to find and get things sorted out in the interest of the future of this country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Wadi. And I'd like to thank all of you for being part of this conversation. What I'd want to leave you all with is the reason why this is so critical is that we have already a situation where those in the public schools, there's a yawning gap between the quality of the students or the quality of teaching and learning available to those in the public schools and those in the private schools. Now, here's a situation where the private schools or a significant number of the private schools will have the opportunity of being part of virtual lessons. Look, whilst we're asking that the children in the public schools should wait until January, for your information, most of the private schools completed their second term and have completed their third term, and they are moving their kids to the next level, as in the next stage. So there's already that yawning gap, which is going to be widened further if we continue at this rate. That is why I think it is important that we find a way. Yes, we may not be able to bring them into school. We may not be able to get them to complete the syllabus, but let's find a way of keeping them engaged, giving them some tuition so that they don't end up being rusty when we ask them to go back in January, because already they are late and they're going to be a lot later if nothing is done about it. So thank you all for being part of this conversation. This is going to be available. I'm going to upload it onto YouTube maybe in about an hour, and it's going to be available. You can get the link and share it to as many people as possible who couldn't take part. But I think there's some practical solutions that we have brought up that we can spread and let everybody else know about. So thank you all and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you too, Israel. Thank you so much and enjoy your Sunday too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.